Hello, it's Miss Gracie, and today I'm going to show you how to make a finger knit t-shirt bracelet. This is a super easy craft. The only thing you need are some old t-shirts and a pair of scissors. It takes only about 20 minutes and you'll be making these bracelets in no time. I'm going to start by cutting my t-shirt. I'm going to pick this old green shirt. It's got a hole in it. I can't donate it, so I'm going to reuse it for a craft. And the first thing we're going to do is just start cutting our shirt. You can definitely use scissors, because I'm kind of want to get this done a little fast since everybody's watching. I'm going to put my scissors aside and I'm going to use a rotary blade for fabric. If you have a grown-up that has one of these, you can ask them to cut your shirts, but any pair of fabric scissors is just fine to do this. But I'm going to try to be a little quick, so I'm going to do it with the rotary. I'm going to keep my t-shirt folded in half. That's going to give me those really nice even. And if you can see the bottom of my shirt, I'm going to cut off. The bottom of your shirt is going to have this kind of extra hem, extra material. I want all my strips to be pretty even, so I'm going to cut off the bottom hem, and I'm just going to discard that piece. And this piece, again, with that extra hem, we'll just put that aside. We don't need it. And I'm going to start probably about an inch for all of my strips. And I'm actually going to need, since this is like a child's medium shirt, I'm probably going to need 5 or 6 of these cut. But it's always better to have more than you need than not enough. So let's start cutting. Again, your scissors with this part is just fine. Strip number, whoa, it didn't come loose. Go over it again. I've got strip number 1. If they're not exactly even, not a problem. Strip number 2. I love this pretty color green. Maybe you have a special shirt that you've outgrown or has a stain. You don't want to quite throw that shirt away. You can always make a craft with it. It's a good way to keep the shirt around. I'm going to do one more and that should be enough. There. Oh, goodness. Let's get this guy free. All right. There. So now I have several rings of fabric. I don't need a ring. I need a straight piece. So what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to use my scissors, is just cut them all open. So I just need one snip on each of them. Sometimes a t-shirt will have a seam in the middle. It's always good to cut it at that seam and then cut the extra fabric off. This shirt was great. It had no seam. You can see we're just making long strips of fabric. Some of my edges are jagged, some of them are cut into. It doesn't matter. It all gets hidden into the final product. And my last strip. There. So now I have long strips of t-shirt fabric. The problem I have now is that I need it to be one long strip, not 5 shorter strips. So I have a trick for this, and we're going to turn all of these into one long strip. So start with one strip, lay another one on top, just like that, so that they're overlapping here. Let me get rid of my green, and it might be easier to see if we're looking at the white table. There we go. So I have these 2 pieces of green fabric and I'm overlapping. Probably about an inch. I'm going to pick it up in the middle. I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to cut a slit through both pieces of fabric. So you can see here, I've cut just a tiny hole in the middle of both of those pieces of fabric. I'm going to keep them layered on each other. The one that's on top I'm going to find the bottom, and then I take this end and I poke it through the slit. I want to poke it through both of them, the slit in both of them, keeping them together. I pull it through. Boom. I've connected those. And we're going to repeat this process so we get one long strip of fabric. So again, I've got this. This is my continuous piece on the bottom. My new piece I want to add to the chain on the top. I'm just going to fold in the middle. Again, we're overlapped about a 1/2 inch. Tiny little slit. So I still have a top and bottom with a slit. I'm pulling the last tail of the one that's on top, poking it through the bottom, up through both pieces, and pull. Keep going. We want one long strip on top, fold, slit in the fabric. I'm going to take my one on top, find the end, poke it through, pull, 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 connected. And this is my last strip, overlapping a 1/2 inch. Cutting in the middle. Finding my end, poking up through, and boom. So now I have, instead of lots of little strips of t-shirt fabric, I have one long, super long strip. Now you can see kind of the edges are flat. What I like to do, you don't have to, but what I like to do is just kind of pull my shirt, just stretch it. And you can see when I do that, the ends kind of curl. It's just the fabric stretching in on itself, but you can see the difference. So here is t-shirt fabric that I pulled, and here is fabric that I didn't pull. So it just gives me a nice kind of uniformed rope. So I'm just going to go through, give it a little tug on my whole chain. Again, this is an option. It's just going to make your bracelet look a little different. Kind of a different look. There. I just tugged, pulled, and now I have more of a rope. You can see on the two bracelets that I have, this one I didn't pull. It looks a little more kind of unfinished and a little flatter. And this one I pulled, so it looks more like a uniformed rope. So it's just a style difference. I like it better when it's pulled. All right, and now we're going to start finger knitting. This is a really fun process. Once you know how to finger knit, you can finger knit with yarn, you can finger knit like we're doing with fabric. It's a really fun technique. I'm going to show you using 2 fingers. You can also finger knit with 3 or 4 fingers. The more fingers you add in finger knitting, the wider your knit is going to be. So we're just going to start with the 2 for a bracelet. These are both 2, so it's a good kind of width. So I've got all my extra over here. This is my tail. I'm going to lay it across my palm. Now the very first knit that you do is just a little more complicated. So I've got it on my palm. I'll just kind of close my thumb on it to keep it from moving. Now I'm going to go behind my pointer finger, above my middle finger. Remember, these 2 are out of the picture. I'm just using these 2. And then I'm going to go behind my middle finger and in front of my pointer. So then I have that. And I'm going to wrap from behind my middle finger over both of them. Now what I'm going to do is hold the tail in these 2 fingers. And this is the knitting part. I'm going to jump over. I'm going to take the bottom, put my finger through. There. I just have my first finger knit. And we're just going to repeat this process. I'm going to do that one more time so you can kind of see. That's the trickiest part of this. I just pulled it open. I've got my tail holding behind and front, circle around behind and front, circle around behind and in front. I'm going to hold, bring that around. I'm going to hold my extra here, and I'm going to pull up on my ring or my middle finger first, and I want to go up and over. There. That's finger knitting. It's just that easy. And that was the trickiest part. Now when I keep going, I want to push these down to the bottom, wrap around both fingers to the bottom and hold. And I'm going to keep going. My fingers are big. It's a little bit of a stretch. I'm going to push down, wrap around, and repeat the process. Push this down, kind of tuck everything behind, and repeat the process. When I taught my daughter when she was 6 how to finger knit, we used to say the bunny jumps over, the bunny jumps over, and push it down. You can see on the back, this looks like a mess. It's jumbled, it just looks like a bunch of knots. Trust me, it's gonna come out straight. Right now in the beginning process, it just kind of collapses on itself. It looks pretty junky, but don't worry about that. We're gonna do a couple more finger knits and then you'll start to see it come together. So just push the knot back, push these down, around, bunny jumps over, bunny jumps over. Let's do that 2 more times and then we can release. Bunny jumps over, bunny jumps over, wrap around, bunny jumps over, bunny jumps over, push it down. Now, you can see here, I'm starting to get a t-shirt bracelet. So I can let go. This was holding this so I wouldn't drop it. I can let go of this now. I can kind of pull it down. So you can see again, this tail coming out nice and long. We're gonna flip back over and just keep going. We just need this, you can just keep going as long as you want your bracelet. We're doing a bracelet, I'd say probably double this amount. So let's keep finger knitting. We don't need to hold this anymore. Around, over, over. The more you do this, the quicker you'll get. You'll see these finger knits come together so quick. Again, I'm just kind of tucking that knot down, sliding everything to the base of my fingers, wrapping around both fingers, over, tucking the knot, sliding down, over, tucking the knot. You can go a little faster. Once you get in a rhythm, you really speed these along. Now, if you're not super, if you see I'm doing it kind of super tight, it's kind of hard for me to get my finger up and in, and that's going to give you a tighter knit. If you're not doing it super tight, it's still going to work. It's just going to have a little more space in between your knits, and that's fine too. I'm almost there. If you were making a bracelet for yourself, you'd probably be done. My wrist is a little bigger. I'm going to keep going. If you wanted to make a necklace, you certainly could. You can also just make a long finger knit chain and use it in all sorts of different crafts. So there. I think that's plenty long for a bracelet. You can see my long finger knit tail. Now this is a little bit of a tricky part. What we need to do is get our knit off of our finger and make sure it doesn't unravel. If I just rolled this off my finger and pulled, the whole thing would unravel. Like any knit project, if you don't have it secured, your knits are just going to pull out. So this is a tricky part. Be very careful when you do this because I'm going to slide these 2 knits off my finger. And now you can see I have 2 little rabbit ears. I'm going to fold them in on themselves, and I'm going to take the end. I have so much, we'll just cut a little bit. I'm going to take the end, and I'm going to go through both of my rabbit ears. And just because I'm extra cautious, this would be fine, but I'm going to do it again. Push it through those 2 rabbit ears and pull. Now I've secured it, and it's not going anywhere. These are great because t-shirts are super stretchy, so what I can do is just tie it in a knot. I love this bright green color too. It reminds me of the library color. And I just tied it in a simple overhand knot. You can leave a little bit of tail on your t-shirt bracelet or a lot, depending on what you prefer. And voila, I'm done. Finger knit t-shirt bracelet. What's great is now you know how to finger knit using that technique. You can also do yarn. Here's a bracelet or a necklace I made just using light blue yarn in the same finger knit technique. I added a little bit of a flower. That's definitely something you can do. You can create really long finger knit yarn projects, use them for crafts as well. I hope you guys had a great time learning how to do these. I hope you make a lot of them. Once you start going, you can just make them for your friends and for your family. They're great gifts, and it's a great way to use an old t-shirt. Thanks for joining me. Bye.